Thank you for tuning in to Growing Tech Fast, the condensed Org3D podcast, which conversations about growing tech startups are had with those who've grown them. Today, I'm joined by Ryan Starr, founder of Stationhead. Before we jump into everything, Ryan, I would really like the listeners just to get a bit of a view on your background, where the idea came from. So please, if you could introduce yourself, who is Ryan?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. First off, who is Ryan? Well, for me, it all started quite young as a musician. I came up as an artist in the business. Started with acoustic guitar on my bed with the dream of like changing the world and writing songs that would inspire others to do what others before me did. And I took that pretty far. I made a living and a career, and more importantly, great fans and memories and experiences around the planet. And when it really kicked in and kind of showed that that was going to be my path, it sounds very fitting that it was radio that made me. Bon Jovi and a radio DJ in New York took a chance on my band, my high school band called Stage. And it was then where we got kind of launched into the business. We had a hit song on the radio, went on tour with Bon Jovi. Madonna signs us to her record label, and condensing all the years a little bit, but that's essentially what brought us into the business. It was the old model of some gatekeeper and artist, anointing us and saying, here's the next thing. Music went through such a transformation shortly after that, as digital became the new way to get your art out there. The music industry very famously kind of went through this nosedive period. I picked up the pieces as a solo artist at that point, went at it again, and then had genuine radio success around the world. And I realized that when I'd go to these radio stations, which was the greatest time for me to drive through the night. And why else would you drive through the night if you didn't love it? But we drive through the night after a show to get to the station's morning show the next morning. And it was there where I would put headphones on, get behind a microphone and connect with voices and passionate music people and tell stories about music I love, or play my own songs and give stories around that in context, and take callers and play music. And it was a thrill that I was lucky enough to experience. And the truth is that experience really didn't exist anywhere else except going to those stations and studios around the country. And it was there where I realized there really isn't a digital experience like what YouTube did for TV, or what Twitch did for games, or Instagram for photography, and Twitter for journalism. It goes on, but there wasn't a space like that for music and voice. And I craved it, right? I'd get home and the label would say, hey, you got to take pictures of your French toast in Brooklyn, and maybe people will then follow the link to hear your songs or whatever. And that was cool. Yeah. And I can't take away that a lot of stars were born that way. But for me, I was missing the let's talk about the music. Let's make this about the music and get to know people, because it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I also was disturbed on the road when I'd hear program directors in this new world say things like, hey, we don't break the hits, we play the hits. And that was very different than where I came from and where I got kind of found as a kid. We don't break the hits, we play the hits meant to me that gatekeeper world was going to suffocate a great idea, which was radio for 100 years, right? And these new democratized platforms were going to give birth to these new stars, because you got to take chances. The youth likes that, culture likes that, art likes that, take chances. So it just didn't exist in this format I love so much. And that brought me to backstage at the Bowery Ballroom, one of my concerts in New York City, to get with a childhood friend and start thinking up the future of what is this new music experience for this generation? Like, what are we missing? And that's when Stationhead was born.
Tell me a little bit. I'm really interested, because as someone who enjoys listening to music, but also getting to know the people behind it, and you do that by whatever means you can. And often radio stations will record those sessions they have with artists and put them on YouTube, and that's how you get to know the person behind it. If you're not able to listen to it at the time, you can rewatch it. And we're in this digital age where if it's not instant, the latest generation don't care about it. So tell me about Stationhead.
Yeah, I would argue a little bit about the look. Live is live, and that's exciting, and that's um, it might be harder to do because it's easier, right? I'll just see it later. I'll just on demand. That's the world we live in, and
Mm,
it's definitely easier. But the value, right, might be in these human connection experiences. Being at the concert is different than watching the concert, and
yep.
I don't know many that would argue that. They might say I prefer watching it later, right? But I wouldn't argue that you're getting that same experience. And I think live is definitely in this digital age maybe more of an inconvenience, but I would argue also that the on-demand world creates this paralysis in all of us of like, I don't know what I want right now. Like you just want to kind of sometimes be a part of the flow and be in that
Yeah.
stream and be together, right? And that's
Nothing beats
where
live.
I would agree, and I think that's when the memories start, and that's the experiences, especially around music, right? I spent a career going going out to meet the fans and hang out with these great believers and supporters of what I did after a show. I mean, that's when the experience started. The show would end, and then I'd spend the night connecting, talking, playing, having memories and experiences with real people in real time. Who would have thought, and that is special, and it is very special, especially to our demo of like 12 to 24-year-old kids that grew up lonely in a Discover Weekly playlist, but like are searching for that connection, and you could see it everywhere. You could see it on Twitter, you could see it on, so like they're searching for that community, and that's why kids will still line up around the block a day before a concert to like be a part of something and be there together.
Yeah, agree. And I think that's what I think is exciting about what you're doing, because as someone who went through that weird transition from like when I was as a kid listening to radio in my parents' car to when I was a teenager moving on to early 20s, and you move out from home and you maybe don't do that as often. And it was that time when music was moving into the more digital age. And if my favorite band was Australian and I didn't have access to their Australian radio, you couldn't reach that. And so you had to watch it like when it wasn't live. And I think that's where I think Stationhead's really interesting, because correct me if I'm wrong, but people listen from all over the world all at the same time, and it's the whole thing's live, and that's the experience that they're getting.
Yeah, I'm glad I could say yes, you are correct, especially after that build up, because yeah, you're within your accent represents the DNA of what makes it Stationhead so special. There is this like pirate, rebellious, independent, fearless like thing that was preserved somehow in the UK, right? Like it's still you can still see that heartbeat glowing, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere else, and I've been everywhere else too. Like there, it's done. Like it's been hijacked and it's been commercialized and figured out and data driven, and we get these insane, large, giant music events with people that are just like love and want to support their favorite artists, and it's almost like this grassroots organizers coming and saying like, let's go, let's listen together. And that listen together gets so big that the actual globally the actual artists will hear about this, right, and jump in with the fans. So that wall that you had up from not being able to hear your Australian band, imagine now you're with everybody else just like you that's not in Australia around the planet, and you're making so much noise that they come in to hang out and join with you. That's the world we're creating, right?
Yeah, and that's what I think so exciting. I'm interested to know from your side, as somebody who's growing this, somebody who is an artist themselves, what from day one of the idea to now, what's been your favorite moment so far?
Well, there is this wild idea that you've probably heard. I don't need to be the first person at all to say it, but I'll agree that like if you knew what it took to build something, right? and I'm sure a lot of your people listening understand that. Like, if you kind of knew what it took, you might not do it, right? So when you ask that question, I just think of all of these wild things that come to mind and incredible moments. But the one thing I'm thinking of two things, and one, and because like one's not really relevant to the outside of this company, but I think the intentions are in the DNA of every line of code we write, which is that we're a plus in a plus minus world. And I would say that we've really created really wonderful experiences, given people once in a lifetime moments that they'll never forget. Lives have been changed, and it's all around music and talking. And to me, like, there's nothing more beautiful. I could find a common thread to somebody on the other side of any belief or any culture. And I'm saying that at a time when we've never been so divided and kind of channeled into our own echo chambers. So like to have a platform that actually doesn't say it's inclusive, but truly brings people together, and with music, right, which is this beautiful social glue that kind of disarms us from 144 characters of like toxicity, right? Instinctually, right? And I'm not saying everything's perfect, but there is this idea that you're already in a better setting. And then you're using your voice in this human thing in this digital world. It's very beautiful. And I'm very proud of that. And I even think of my two little kids, and I'm thinking, wow, I love for them to be on this platform and to express who they are through music and their voice and their beliefs and their intention, and hear other people out. I love that idea, and it scares me to the core of the other platforms that they could wind up on in a few years when they're at that age. So very proud of that, and I've heard it in real time and over again. I hear these great moments of fans talking to fans, or artists talking to fans, or artists talking to artists, or people just celebrating music, and I hear it over and over again, which is that this is unique and special, experience we've built, and that's something to be proud of. It reveals itself to me. I thought, hey, I want to be a pirate radio DJ, and I'm going to go and everyone's going to listen to me. Right? And really, what happened was, like, when you build a platform, when you build a product, and this is for anybody listening, like when you build a product, there's your belief as a founder, and you really must protect that and keep going. But there's this wonderful idea that people are actually using it, and it's just like a good song. When people would ask me what it's about, it was always very hard for me. I most of the time didn't tell them, because I know it meant something to them. So often you have to know and be humble enough, I think, to let the truth like be revealed to you. Like something else will tell you what you're actually building, right? Something else will tell you what that song meant. Not that you don't have a spine, but you have to be open to that. And over again, kids around the world and artists revealed to me what Stationhead really is, right? And I love that, and that's from building a good product that resonates with people. On the other side, the thing I'm really proud of is the team we have and the culture we have. It started, from I didn't go to business school. I had to learn all these things kind of in real time and surround myself with really smart people that have done this before. And but what I do know is how to collaborate with people that like share a dream and a vision and want to make change. That thing I told you about, that kid on the bed with an acoustic guitar writing a song that wanted to inspire the world. I still do that every day. I get up and we build Stationhead because we want to, affect this great change with this generation who's kind of been missing out on what music could be, which is social and together. And, I'm really proud of that. And it trickles into the culture of everybody building this, right? We're mostly a team made up of engineers and product team, and to have a great intention and to hear your work come back at you, and they could retwitter and say, like, this changed my life, I'll never forget this, thank you, Station. That means a lot to me, right? So we put together quite the collaborative rock and roll outfit, and we take it on tour every day building Stationhead.
I absolutely love that. I think that's great. And I think there's going to be people listening who at this point are like, okay, I'm sold. Like, where do I find it? How do I get on? How do I, like, as a fan who, like, maybe they like one particular genre, or they've got a favorite band, a favorite artist, like from a fan's perspective, how can they go and be a part of this? What steps do they need to take to get there?
we've been learning and figuring that out too, right? Because for a creator to come on and start and go live and go on air and have a show and talk about music and talk to friends, that works great. For a fan, for a listener to come through, someone who's just like really really into the music, we've created this new experience on Stationhead that'll be releasing this week, and it's this idea of channels, right? So like I'll hop on, and if I'm a Harry Styles fan, I'm going to hop in right away to this 24/7 experience, and people like me are going to be there as a community, streaming live together, talking, chatting, hanging out, listening, celebrating, driving streams. So Harry, my favorite artist, goes up the charts, like all of these great things. And they're going to be able to go on the platform and just see their community right there and jump into that world. So as a fan, that's the approach I would take, and we build for that every day more and more.
Brilliant. So just to clarify that a little bit for people. So in these new channels, which I imagine will be released when this podcast is out. So they'll already be there. They'll be up and running. And we'll use the Harry Styles example because he has recently had a new album. And so if I'm a fan and I'm like, right, I want to go and find this channel, do I literally is it as easy as searching Harry Styles?
Well, for the bigger communities and the ones that are current, it's as easy as just opening the app, going on Stationhead, and you'll see right there, right for your eyes to see, hey, here's my Harry Styles hang. Oh, here's my BTS one. Here's my Camila Cabello. Here's my, you'll have all the options right there in front of you, and you'll jump in, and then you'll start learning the community. It's like, then you'll come closer and see the nuance, and you'll see the other people you can follow, hang out with. But yeah, it'll be as easy as turning on your radio dial and saying, I like this number one, that preset.
Yeah.
It'll be as simple as that for them. And then for others that don't see their communities, sure, they could search or better yet, start their own.
Yeah. So that was the other thing I was going to ask. So if you're a creator, like how do you like increase your following? How do you start a channel that is going to become popular, or find the right people, find people like who are similar to the creator, who they want to get involved with?
Yeah, it starts by just going on and hitting a button that says, create your show. And from there, you're basically using your playlist, right, from Spotify or an Apple, and that's your content. And you go on air with that, and then you could chime in and invite people in and create a buzz the way you would with any platform. Any creator platform, a good one would start a creator tool. If you think of Musical.ly before TikTok, right? It was this great way to make videos, and then you would share them on Facebook or share them on Twitter, and that's how they'd bring more in. And then as they did that, they'd start finding a better discover flow for the new listeners. We're at that same stage. It's early. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, you're going to go on and you're going to be Zane Lowe tomorrow, right? The opportunity is there, but that would take real work and buzz, and that old school natural thing of just getting really good at what you do and becoming a bigger creator. I'm proud to say, like on LinkedIn, there's so many people that say I'm a DJ at Stationhead. That's their job, they say. So like that says that we can get there. But it's an exciting time since it is such a new platform and idea for people. It's really empowering when you see them go on air for the first time and start talking and start playing and see a community come and join them through maybe their Twitter feed or whatnot. Especially if it's about an artist that's really popular. That's helpful, right? Because if you're like, hey, I'm going to do this Harry Styles hang, and it's a lot easier to get people in that way, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to touch on from the conversation we had before this podcast, was that Stationhead is becoming
you're giving people a sneak peek of behind the scenes. We've met before. These are all rehearsed lines.
Oh, you wait. There'll be a question you're not expecting. So Stationhead is getting more and more successful. Like as the weeks, months go on, it's becoming more and more successful. You've been having some like artists who actually join the channels with the fans, with the creator. And I think that it's quite a for me, one of the reasons why I think you've been successful so far is that it's unique. Like that isn't anyone doing this. We've touched on it a little bit before, that like, it's so comforting to get in your car and turn the radio on and just listen, and that there's music and that there's talking. And when the combination of the two are interesting and sometimes inspirational, depending on the radio station you're listening to, I don't like using this word, but organic. Like, you're getting people on to talk about what's important to them. And from a music perspective, music can be so helpful to people on an individual, on a group level. And again, you spoke about it before, but artists are comfortable and enjoy talking about their music. And one of the things that we spoke about before was so that artists have been on, and at first they're a little apprehensive. And then as you get through, you just see this complete change in them and how much they buy into what you're doing. And I wanted you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. They're not apprehensive. They just assume it's going to be something a little more canned and a little more, I'm promoting my thing. And they're blown away when they realize, oh my God, these are my favorite, most powerful supporters and believers and fans around the planet here in one spot on a button on my phone, celebrating my life's work. Like, whoa, this is not what I thought it would be. Like, let's go kick it, right? Let me tell you about the new music. Let me tell you about what inspired it, right? You had Machine Gun Kelly on last week doing that, like walking through every song in the record, like Brandi Carlile did right before her release show in San Francisco a few weeks earlier. You have Alicia Keys, Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Alec Benjamin. They're all doing the same thing. They come here, Megan Thee Stallion, and they say the same thing. This is where my best fans are, right? So if you're an artist and you want to know where your best fans are while they're hanging out all around the music, hanging out, talking, chatting, being a community for you, driving paid streams, so you get up the charts as well. If you're an artist, that's where your people are. And then if you're a fan, if you're a lover of music, then again, that's where your people are. And that's where your artist is. So like, it really is this beautiful thing that where it's not like, hey, I'm the star and I'm up here on the stage and you're down here and I'm, maybe you could reach out and touch me. And it does feel like that often on Stationhead, but it's not in the sense that like I'm here and you're down here. It's really, you're joining forces, and the fans here have become the creators, right? This is a platform where they're not just a fan. Like, that ship has sailed. Like, now we've given them a platform to have a voice, to build community, to attract their stars to the platform. Like, we flipped on its head that you need a big star to come go on your app and make it famous. No, we needed, we have community. Like, we have people that come here like-minded for the music and the fun, and they become the creators while doing it, which is really special.
So we understand we've gone from the idea to where you are today, to why it's successful, why you're trending globally on Twitter. I want to know, where are you going to go? So what's the goal? Whether it's 2022, whether it's by 2025, hopefully it's one you can tell me. But what's the goal of Stationhead? Where do you want to be?
Yeah. Well, technically the goal is something that you mentioned before, which is like, I want to jump in. How do I do that? How does it, as simple as that radio dial, I just turn it on and there's what I want, right? So our job as a platform will be to get you to what you to find your community quickly and find what you like and have a home for you there. As far as really where this is going, I mean, this is where Spotify and Apple left off, right? Like, these platforms, they know they do the same thing. They changed the game. They made music work digitally, right? Like, they figured out a way to access everything instantly, and while getting the artist paid, and bring health and revenue back into the music industry. It's all really beautiful. I started this as a deep fan of streaming. I was so excited as an artist that my numbers weren't just random numbers. It was like, wow, these are adding up to actually support me finally. And I would say that where it's failed is the heart, right? Like, where's the heartbeat? in all that. It's very, like I said, it's wonderful. An algorithm will tell me what I want, or some gatekeeper of today on a playlist will tell me what I want. But where are my people? Like, where's the social feeling? Where's my community? And so, you know, I think that especially as new releases roll out all the time, this is the heart of the action. This is where it's at. I can't say that for the streaming platforms of yesterday, right? But Stationhead, you're jumping into the heart of the action. This is where the artists are, the fans are, and this live experience that's just been hijacked, I think, from a generation. Yeah. So yeah, the where we would be is, you know, where they left off. We'll take the reins and be the new digital music experience for this generation.
If in 10 years time,
kind of like where cassettes left off for me when I got CD.
If in 10 years time you're looking back, what needs to happen for you to think, wow, I've really created something that I view myself as successful here? So I think you've had a few of those moments, but if we think from this point forward, if you look back, what would mean to you that this had been really successful?
That elevated even from your phone or your device or your car, that we're everywhere, that we're in the air, that our voices, the Stationhead voices of the voices we grew up loving, those will be Stationhead voices, right? Like the next Zane Lowe, the next Joe Rogan, you name it, they'll come up through Stationhead. But more importantly, I think in a time where you know, the data's in, like we're as a people, right? You can argue we're sadder, more lonely, and in cases depressed, even from this constant feed, this scrolling of, like, you know, it's done something to our brains, and we know this, we all know this now, and we're all trying to figure it out, because we also know that this has been an incredible experience and we have everything at our fingertips and we're not going back. So the massive success would be that we have an experience on these devices, right, where it's not doing that, where it's not making you lonely or sadder or feeling bad about yourself or what you're not doing or who you're not, but the one that says you're doing amazing and this is a great feeling and here's your people and here's music that makes you feel good. And, you know, even on an artist perspective, I can't think of a better button to press than to hear all of my fans at once, you know, supporting me and being happy that I'm here with them. So, you know, if you want to talk dopamine, I couldn't imagine a better experience for us, especially combating the last 10, 15 years of kind of mindless scrolling, and to offer the world something where they're going to come and enjoy an experience and become better for it, would be the real dream.
I love that. And I think there's a lot of people listening who are going to jump straight on board it and get in with what Stationhead's all about. But if we think about it from the flip side, like somebody could be listening here who thinks, hey, this sounds like something I really want to work on. So from a technical standpoint, in terms of actually what Stationhead is, the tech that you're using, you've alluded to it, that you have a great team. Like, tell me about that. Tell me why it's a really cool journey, other than what you've said so far. So maybe touch on the technical standpoint. Yeah. Why is this a cool place to work?
Yeah, well, first off, people are always very surprised with the success we're having and the growth we're having, to know that we're a team of 15. And that's something to be proud of. We're all very much involved with, you know, we all bring a lot to the table. And everyone working at Stationhead, working on Stationhead, it's kind of like without them, it doesn't get built, right? So there's a lot of ownership and a lot of self, you know, there's just a lot of empowerment being on the Stationhead team, right? So because what you're doing is directly affecting something, right? No one's pushing like one button for a year here, and like that. I know that can happen at larger companies. And I know I look forward to understanding how to scale in that way, but we're still enough in the early days where someone's going to matter here. And that's why we're very particular about who we bring in. The days of like paying Cody and hot dogs in the 23rd Street apartment are over. We are a proper company. You know, we have a great investment from really well-known people and celebrities and record industry titans and stuff like that. So we're running a real business here and growing a real team. But yet it does feel still like those really early days in the apartment, you know, because we're all working together. Like the heartbeat is one here, and it's something that I'm most proud of, like I mentioned before. So yeah, I think it's not time yet for like you know, your day to be booked by meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. This is time to understand what we're building, and knowing that if you don't build it, it doesn't get built. And that's the feeling we have right now. And we all share it. We're all partners, and we're all beating at the same drum. I'll also say when I started, I met the CTO of Amazon, and he had this wild thing. He said, you have to have intention every time you write a line of code. And for us, it was security. We knew we were taking people's credit cards. And I know that's just like figurative idea of good intention to build, and security was on everybody's mind writing code. And for me, starting this company, to what I just told you, the dream is, I mean, it was really, let's be a plus in a plus minus world. I see what's happening out there, and let's build something wonderful. It's going to change people and make this place better. And what a better way than through music and voice and community, right?
There's no better place. So Ryan, I just have a few more things left before I leave everybody to go and explore Stationhead themselves. So, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Like, clearly people around the world are thinking the same thing. You're trending, celebrities are jumping on board. If there's somebody out there listening who's a little unconvinced, what would you say?
Well, first off, I'd say that's totally fine. That's from a kid that grew up playing music. I learned that you can't be everything for everyone. But more specifically, I would understand, because we still are a young tech company, right? There's more to get done, and there's people we're most definitely not serving yet. I'm aware of that, and that's the excitement about building and learning. So if there's something deeper than that, I would say, you know, remember, think about your favorite musical moment, and where were you, and who were you with, and what's the story that you heard, and all of these things, and I would argue that it changed your life, and you remember it to this day. And then I'd say, now hop into Stationhead with that mindset, because that's not a tech play. That's like in our spirit. That's why we all love music so much. And that's why we love going to concerts and experiencing that at the venue. That's why we like being in the heart of the action. And that's why people like Stationhead. You know, you're taking this passionate music people and letting them stream together live. I mean, that's a concert.
Yep. I love it. Okay, final question. And I'm really glad that was your answer, actually, because it leads me very nicely into if this had been around when you were looking to start your career, or even when you'd had your career in your band and were moving into the solo career. It's going to be a pretty biased answer, but would you have gone on Stationhead and started as a creator and had tried to, and like promoted through your own channel? Is that something that if somebody was trying to make it themselves now in this crazy digital world, is Stationhead a great platform for that, to go in as a creator, but you're an artist yourself?
Yeah. So to be very clear, I started Stationhead instead of taking that tour on the road because it didn't exist and I wanted it. That's the cleanest, most real answer. I built this because it didn't exist, and it did exist for some of my more famous friends. They had stations on satellite radio and they had stations on Apple Beats, but I just wasn't that famous, and they weren't going to offer me a station. And Rosie, they weren't offering you one either. I don't think, at least. And that's how I felt. Like, where is this democratized music experience for me? I know if I want to be a TV star, where to go? I go to YouTube, right? Didn't exist. So I used my understanding of what the fans really want and what the artists want and put it all together, which is, I want to connect directly with my audience. I don't want an algorithm in between me. I want this transparency. where are my best fans? How do I get them in one spot? And how do I talk to them about what I love most, which is the music? You know, handing the record in after a year of working on it and being told to take some pictures of French toast was not the answer for me. And some do it great, right?
Yeah.
I don't shake like that. So I needed this, and I needed to build it. On the other end, more likely, if it did exist around then, and the habits we're seeing on Stationhead today, is my fans would all have been there already, hanging out and saying, Ryan, R-Star, you got to get here. Come on, we're playing the music. And I'd be like, oh, I'm jumping in. You know, it's like, I'm not, as an artist, it's a lot to ask people to lift things from the beginning and do it. And so I understand that question very clearly. Like, there are startup artists that come on here and take that less than 1,000 streams carrot on Spotify, and they'll come here for a few nights and with their charts saying 20, 30,000 streams. Like they're changing their life and taking action. So people can make things happen here if you make some friends on Stationhead and play your music. But more likely, it's like you don't have to plan the party. You just got to join the party, right?
Yeah.
And I probably would have done that. I would have been like, my best fans, I know you, Concert Sandy. I know you, Lizzie, Louisiana. Like, yo, let's go. I'll come on your show. Let's have fun tonight. Thanks for playing my music. So as an artist, I would say you don't always have to start it. You could just join the party.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that when we spoke, when I've been doing a little bit of research, for me, you're breaking down barriers in an industry where there seems like that's all there is for some from the outside looking in. You're right. If I tomorrow wanted to become a famous pop star, I've got no idea how you do that, because at the minute, all the famous pop stars are posting pictures of French toast or like whatever it is, a pair of trainers. And
it depends where they're posting it. There's others posting very different content.
Well,
I don't think they call it toast in America or England.
No, I don't think they do. And like that's that, and it's not music, and it's not their songs, or it's their song in the background of a video that has nothing to do with their music.
Yeah,
so that's what I really like. Yeah, and it is. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. But what I like about this is that it is organic, it is genuine, and it's what, as a kid with a CD player in my room, that I got into when it came to listening to bands and listening to them on the radio and hearing actually their voice and who they are as an individual and what that song means to them, what the album meant to them. So for me, I've really enjoyed this conversation because it's just highlighted how great Stationhead is. And I hope that everybody listening got the same that I did out of this conversation.
Rosie, I'm thinking about you like this weekend. Like you have all these fans celebrating Olivia Rodrigo's anniversary of her Sour, and she would have been in the car. So, some kid would have, Rosie, would have been in the car, and parents listening to their radio or something. Yeah. And instead, Olivia is like, "Hey, join me here," and we're celebrating. And Olivia Rodrigo is on air with her fans this weekend, celebrating not even a new release, the 1-year anniversary of her release. And like that's exciting. That's not just like tuning into a playlist you subscribe to. No, and I think kind of answers my question, but the one thing I always leave this podcast with is if the audience only took one thing from this podcast, what would you want them to take? Stationhead is where the old DSPs were leaving off, and like we hit this wall, they're taking over. Stationhead's the new music experience, right? Like, and it makes sense. It was built, from understanding fans and community with the most respect. It makes sense to me now. Oh wow, I had to go through that. Like I said, I didn't come up through business school. I came up through spending my life getting to know these really special people that love music so much, that want a new experience from it and want to connect with the artists, want to connect with each other. So yeah, Stationhead is this new music experience, and it is where you stream live together, and some will call it, older people will say, oh, that's like radio. Sure, Some will call it, oh, that's like streaming, but like not alone. Yeah, sure. And some will just say it's just how music's supposed to be, and some will say it's the heart of the action.
And we will leave you with that. So in the comments, in the post, you will see links that will take you to Stationhead. I hope you all check it out. If you have any questions, if there is still anything burning that you want to know, I'm sure you can hit any of the team up at Stationhead and they'll be happy to answer anything. Thanks, Ryan.
Talk hard. Thank you.